Welcome to Wisdom Journey, the podcast where we explore the path of building an online business from the ground up. Here, I share my wins, struggles, lessons, and experiments so you can learn, adapt, and grow alongside me. I also interview experts in their respective field. Whether you're just starting out or looking for new strategies to scale, this is your space to find inspiration and practical wisdom. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to take you onto this journey. Today on the Wisdom Journey podcast, we're joined by someone whose life reads like a movie script, but whose lessons are razor sharp for anyone building an online business, podcast, or personal brand. Pete A. Turner is a former combat spy who spent over 70 months in war zones and completed more than 1,000 missions outside the wire, having intelligence that shaped real-time decisions on the ground in places like Afghanistan, Iraq, Bosnia, and Egypt. His job was simple but incredibly dangerous. Walk into unfamiliar streets, talk to strangers, understand the truth beneath the surface, and figure out what was really going on. But what makes Pete special is what he did after the battlefield. He took everything he learned, human psychology, trust building, reading people, high-stakes communication, and rebuilt his life as a podcast host, producer, and media leader. Today, he's the creator of the Break It Down show with over 2,000 plus published episodes, interviewing Medal of Honor recipients, Nobel Prize winners, gold medalists, world-class authors, musicians who sold billions of records, and experts whose stories you won't hear anywhere else. Beyond that, Pete is a man of service. He battles PTSD, advocates for veterans, supports Save the Brave, and rides across America to raise money and awareness. And yet, despite all he has lived through, he brings humility, wisdom, and a rare word clarity to conversations about podcasting, leadership, trust, and storytelling, skills every online entrepreneur needs today. Welcome to the podcast, Pete.
Thanks, man, for having me on. I appreciate it. It's always fun to talk with you, Wisdom. We've been done each other. Or have you done my show? Have you done? I don't know if you've done my show. I got to get you on my show.
No.
Well, then we'll have to set that up. The most obvious guests are always right in front of your face. Everybody remember that. Thanks for having me on there, man. I appreciate it. And by the way, I did Wisdom wrong. First I was traveling, which we knew about. And then tonight earlier, I was supposed to be here earlier and I didn't do that. So I owe you a public apologies and I apologize to you for that.
Oh, wow. You need to do that. Thank you so much. Life happens. And when I saw your email, I was like, at first I was like, what's happening? I was like, hope he's okay. And then I saw him and I said, oh, so that was what happened.
Yeah. I get busy. You know how it is. You do a lot of shows, right? And sometimes you just I'll tell people I'm going to work on something. Like right now, I need to put something in my calendar and I'm not doing it. And that's going to put me at risk of not doing it for real because my day is very busy. We get to meet a lot of people in this business. And if we don't follow up, if we don't remain flexible. I knew you'd be flexible because of what we do, but that's the nature of our business.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. I think probably that's why we should probably think of getting someone to handle the back and forth communication.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, is I just was sitting down doing quiet work. So I have my phone away from me so it wouldn't bother me. But my phone is supposed to bother me because my calendar tells me what to do. And that's what happened was I was being so productive. I forgot I had a commitment, and look, like those are the lessons of life, right? Like my plate is always full. I always have more work to do. And so I'm very special and precious about what I allow to get on my plate. I dig you. I dig your show. And so I don't ever mind making time for you because I know there's an investment for us. Even if, yeah, but I'm being serious though. Even if nothing ever comes through, even if I never meet you face to face, but the more we get to know each other, the more likely something good is going to happen that's bigger than us. And I love that stuff. Yeah.
Well, I don't even know where to start from in terms of, okay, like, that's the thing about having multiple podcasts.
Yeah.
When you interview repeat guests, right? You get to a point where you're like, the first time you're like, oh, I really need to be curious about this person. The second time, you have other things you're curious about, but then you're like, I mean, my listeners of the show, they don't know Pete, right? I mean, so I have to start from the beginning. I'm like, but I know that part. Let's go to some other part.
Yeah.
Okay.
I skip all that stuff though, because there are so many people who talk about themselves and everything. I just assume that the listener will go find more if they want it. And so my job is to make wisdom interesting, right? And that's how I look at it. There's nothing wrong with getting a bio, but like people get bios all the time, and I'm saying this in the best possible way. It's not as exciting for me when I'm a guest and someone's like, tell me where you grew up. And I don't mind doing that. It's fun and I'll always talk about it. But when they come at me from a different angle, I'm like, all right, let's go. That's a good ride. You know? So either way, it's good. But yeah, I don't know. Don't you think that's true though? Like you and I've had conversations, right? Don't we want to build on the conversation and have a bigger one?
No, tell me where you grew up is like, it's like a backup. How do I put it out? It's like the last possible resort where you're like, I guess I don't have questions to ask. Tell me where you grew up and like start from there.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. I want us to talk about business. I want us to talk about building a media brand. And it's one of the things that has been piquing my curiosity over the last 2 months. And yeah, I love to talk about that. I mean, you do have a podcast called Break It Down. You know, your podcaster, podcast producer, among many other things. And I'm curious, out of curiosity, and for those that are listening, is podcasting your full-time business, job, gig?
Yeah, I mean, the answer to that question is yes. I'm a professional podcaster for sure. And then I produce podcasts and I also produce movies now. I'm not actually finished the process of making a movie, but I'm making several movies right now. And so that is what I do full time, is all of that. And it's crazy. And by the way, then I have some side projects. You know, I've got like this Spy Q thing I joined, and it's this is like a conference where you attend and you get, like, a guy like me teaches you skills and gives people the ability to do spy type skills. We're not talking about illegal things, but just like, how do you create influence? How do you take advantage of a situation? You know, that kind of stuff. And so I do a lot of things, man. Yeah. Well, I don't ever want anybody to harm anybody. I'm not trying to tell anybody to ever do anything. You know, like, there's enough bad in the world. I don't need to fuel that. But let me ask you the same question though. Are you a full-time podcast producer?
Yeah, kind of. I guess we could say that.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you be? Help me understand that part of it. If it's tricky, what's tricky about it?
Yeah. You see, okay. I started podcasting this year, and I was like, I need to get the reps in. I need to get the experience in. And I did. Like, it's almost 9 months I've been podcasting, and I'm at a point where I want to take it a step further now and actually monetize. I want to take it and do the media brands, right? I want to launch newsletters and connect all those things. So that's why I'm like, it's not like, oh, this is like the full-time thing that I'm doing, but I'm in the process of making it the full-time stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. This is a good point. When you're in this world, like, you've figured out you can do this, you know? And so now you're just going to get better and better, and you're going to find more opportunities. And maybe you'll be someone in your country where, like, you become the person that people go to. And maybe, like me, like, you'll produce podcasts and you'll make other people's dreams, if they can handle it, right? But then you'll find out that not everybody's like you. And they won't do 9 months of episodes. And so there's all this stuff you can trade. One of the things that you and I get the advantage of is you can look and go, wow, that's a lot of work. And so a company that's like, we want to do a podcast, they'll listen to us because we know how to do it. And you can say these words to them. You can say, the production side, don't worry about that. I do that all the time. Can you all keep up with me? Right. And then they go, oh, you mean we don't have to worry about the camera and the laptop? Yeah, no, don't worry about that. That's my stuff. Can you guys keep up with me? Can you keep the ideas coming? And that's a different game, because now the companies are like, whoa, we got a real pro in here, because they don't know what they don't know. And so they're always worried about stuff like, what microphone should I buy? And I'm like, microphone? Don't worry about that.
That's not for you. Leave that for me.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the questions I like to ask. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
go ahead.
I'm taking over your show, man.
No. Okay. What was the question I was about to ask? Yeah, one of the things that young people I've noticed don't do is they wake up and they tell you that I'm not good at anything. Nobody's going to like pay me to do something. And I know most people tell them, of course, there's something you're good at. But most of the times, these people are actually saying the truth. They are not good at anything. Like, they're not like professionally good at it, right? They're just like, I do this thing once a while, and they don't have this span. And the reason why they're not good is they know the basics, but they've not like done it for a very, very long time. And nobody wants to like do that, right? but just like, okay, how do I make more money? How do I make? I'm like, okay, you're going to charge $2,000, $3,000 for this service. If someone's going to pay you $2,000, $3,000 or even more, like there's like a level of quality they would expect. This is like $5 work. You need to upgrade.
Yeah, that's such a good point, and I think you'll find that never stops. There's always people that want to accomplish whatever it is, whatever the thing is. They want to garden more.
Yeah.
Well, go garden. But I really don't want to garden. It's really what they say. Like, I really don't want to garden. I don't want to have to sit there and dig around in the ground and make my soil rich and rotate my crop. They don't really want to do that. They like the dream, and that's fine. It's fine to dream, and it's fine to experiment and try different things. And look, it's also okay to fail. Like, I've tried gardening 5 different times in my life. It's never stuck, right? But maybe that 7th time you try it and it takes you 40 years and you're like, I finally found it. I love gardening, But that's just how it always is. Where there's things that we aspire to, but we don't want to work to. And if the aspiring and the dream aren't fed by work, then it doesn't, unless you catch lightning in a bottle, which is the hard way to get by. You're not going to be able to do that thing, whatever that thing is, right? Like, if you want to have big giant shoulders and work out a lot, you have to go to the gym. You don't get to say, I don't like going to the gym. You have to say, I love going to the gym. Otherwise, let those shoulders go and go do something else. Like those guys who run marathons, and they go out and they go on 40-mile runs and they love it. They love it. That's what you have to find, is a thing that you're willing to do, even if it sucks. It's not fun to go out and run 40 miles if you don't do it all the time, but those guys build up to it and they love it,
Yeah. I mean, it gets, I was looking at Riverside not too long ago, and I was looking at the number of hours of episodes I've done, and I saw 500 hours, and I was like, wow. I have to make this 1,000 hours. So I can boldly say I've done over 1,000 hours of, but that takes time, and that has to, it's boring. You have to keep showing up, and at that point in time, you have to like start asking yourself, is this really what I want to do, or am I just playing around?
Yeah. Well, and if I can back up in time a little bit in our conversation, when we were talking earlier about, like, people want to monetize, and if you want to monetize, you have to have something valuable. And so it doesn't have to be people watching either. It has to be something about what you do gives the other person value. Like, I don't know how many people will watch this show. I don't care. You and I, our interaction to me is valuable, and we get to talk about stuff that I think is helpful to me, because I'm learning from me when I'm talking, but I'm also learning from you. And there's just so much value in that, right? So that is a form of exchange of value. And so money might be secondary, but who knows, maybe you and I in a year from now come up with a way to bridge the gap between your country and mine, and there's money in that. It's absolutely possible. It happens all the time. We're all meet somebody and they want to get into whatever country it is. But even if it's not your country, you're like, oh, my cousin lives over there. My cousin lives in Benin or whatever. And all of a sudden it's like, we're doing a deal, and we're like, how many times have I said, I cannot believe my crazy show has put me in this situation that I have here. That's remarkable. It happens I was in London the other day because of my show.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's value everywhere. You just gotta farm it, Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, no, that's for real. You have to, like, I think that's one of the reasons why I do what I do, is I'm like, if I have conversations with a lot of people, right, and I keep doing that consistently, right, depending on the kind of show that I have, I'll be at a point where I am forced to do, like, I will have to break through one way or the other. And in this case, wisdom journey, I'm talking about business and all that, and I'm having conversation with people that have been in business 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. I'm asking questions. I'm just being curious. And what happens is that over time, you just soak in a lot of stuff, and you just say some stuff, and you're like, wait, where did that come from?
Yeah. Well,
and
I mean, your name is wisdom, and you're in a venue where you can gather more of your wisdom. I mean, it's just, there's so much of that, it just washes over you. And then I don't know about you, but I'll go back and I'll listen to episodes just to freshen up on something. And I'm like, there's so much good stuff that I've totally forgotten and not used to my advantage. And so I go back and routinely listen to episodes and go, yep, greatness in there. There's greatness everywhere in these things. And so anybody who wants to have value should listen to your show anyhow. I mean, there's just going to be a ton of value in reviewing these episodes and just taking the small practices. Because you're right, there's amazing guests out there that will give you a mindset that will change how you see the world. And all this stuff that I'm putting together, it all came from somewhere else. I've just conjured it up in my own style. But yeah, the wisdom that we gather and the joy, there's so many times when I'm just like, I'm overjoyed when I have my episode. It's so good.
Yeah. Well, my question is, how did you, I want us to start from like the point, how did this eventually become a thing, a money thing, right? A thing that you can say, yeah, I'm a podcaster. Like this is how I pay my bills.
It's a big question, and it took a long time. I'm over 10 years now, right? And so it means I had to figure it out in year 1. I had to figure it out in year 2, month 6. My show has almost died a bunch of times, but I managed to just kind of keep going, and I'm still figuring it out. I'm still learning. I know, like, I'm kind of loosey-goosey with my show and everything. If anybody watches it, like I'll start it whenever I want. I've just learned what matters and what doesn't matter. And what doesn't matter to me are the things that make my show making less enjoyable. And I'll take all the benefits down this hallway where I'm just filled with pleasure and everything. So I figured that out, I don't know, I would say at year 8. I already knew I could do it. I knew the breakout was coming. I just didn't know when it was coming. And I've had several breakouts. And I've gone in totally new directions that I never could have imagined. And so I let those happen. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go in this direction for a while now. But I don't know, man. I was kind of still figuring it out. I'm still, and I don't want to give the impression that I'm ultra wealthy or anything, because I'm not. But I have built a life that has value, Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could be. Who knows?
Well, I'm wealthy in terms of joy and enrichment and people around me. And these things make me very happy. And so, yeah, I need money to live and everything. And I could always use more. Just today, I was like, who can I talk to so I can do something for them that will give me $1,000? I was absolutely having this conversation with myself earlier today. And like, here are the 5 people I'm going to call. And I'm going to check in on them. And I'm going to say, I could use some work. Is there anything I can do? Whatever it is, right? And sometimes they'll be like, you know what? I know someone, because they want to help me because I've built this value. And they're like, I know you're working hard, Pete. You need to get a little money to make ends meet. I know a guy that has a podcast. I'll connect you to him right now. And then all of a sudden you're talking to a guy and it's like, there's $1,000, and so it happens all the time. The big thing to realize for anybody watching and wanting to do a podcast, first off, ask Wisdom. He'll help you. He knows what he's doing. He's a pro. Whether he wants to say he's a producer full-time or not, he's a pro. He can do it. The next thing I'm going to tell you is that it's right there. It's right in front of you. You just have to turn your show into a networking machine so you can meet anybody you want and follow up with them. Now you've got this connection. You and you send me an email anytime you want. And I'll give you my phone number. We'll go on WhatsApp or whatever. I have no problem talking to you anytime you want, Wisdom. I have huge respect for you, And so just think about that. You've got someone who's on your side in the States, right? Because we have these ridiculous shows. How great is that?
Yeah. I guess if you're doing 2,000 episodes, how do you keep in touch with 2,000 guests? That's a lot.
Oh, well, I don't. But you don't have to keep in touch with people all the time. Like, I don't know. I know we agreed a while back to do this episode, but we didn't talk in between really at all, right? Like, we just knew we were going to do it. And then I screwed around and screwed it up a little bit. But it doesn't mean that, like, if you and I talked every 6 months for the next 10 years, it would be totally normal for us. And we would be, very well connected. And that's once every 6 months. And if we needed to talk more, we could. If we were working on something, you better believe we talk more, right? And so I think just you have to, here's the thing that's different, I think. The person trying to build the network has to maintain the network. And so that means that every now and then I do have to contact you, or you got to reach out to me and say, hey, I've been thinking about you. Who doesn't want to hear that? Like, hey, Wisdom, I just want to shoot you an email, man. I was thinking about you. How you doing? You'd be like, oh, he emailed me out of the blue. Wow. He was thinking of me? I'm like, yeah, man, I dig you. Who doesn't want to hear that? And then it's like, what are you working on? Oh, I'm working on this and that. And then we'll exchange notes, and then maybe that's it. And then we'll go on to the next time. Yeah. But that's what I look at when I try to talk about maintaining a network, is just when someone pops into your mind, send them a note. Go look through your old shows and go, I should follow up with this person. I should bring this person back on. Because it's never one conversation. You want to have 100 conversations.
Yeah. It does make sense. I mean, the thing is not necessarily about how much, having so many interactions. It's just as little interactions you have as possible. Just try to be the best. What's the word? Be kind and generous. That's it, right? So
Yeah.
if you were having a conversation, be great. Yeah, it may be great. And yeah, because the thing I've noticed, and you know this as someone who you work with human psychologists. People remember the last version of you. That's what they have in their mind. So if the last time I spoke to you, you were like terrible, you said some mean things to me, even though I don't know, something happened. Maybe you weren't talking to me, but I thought that you were talking to me. Something just happened, and guess what? That's like when I see Pete Stone, I'm like, yeah, that's the version of you. I'll just put in my head. Oh, that's guy.
Yeah,
says mean things. Yeah. Terrible.
Well, that's honestly that's spy stuff too. Like I'm not acting, but I've built, like, I know where my voice is, right? My voice is right here in my chest right now. If I want it to go higher, I move it higher, and I'm aware that it's there, even though I'm excited, and I'm not acting that. I'm just aware of what I'm doing. And that's like what a lot of spy stuff is I'm talking to you and I'm looking you in the eye and I'm looking for things and I'm paying attention to that. So my brain is doing 5 things at once. So even though I'm being genuine and true, I'm also in control. I know why I'm saying certain words. And that's like that thing that we all get to develop because we talk all the time on these shows where I know when to listen. I know when we can have banter.
Yeah.
And God, you just get better. You just become a better conversationalist.
It is. Like, how do I explain that? When you do so much interviews and then you come to in person and like I'm having conversations and I'm talking and I'm like, wow. I'm like, wow, I do have power. I was like, wow, I didn't know I had this in me. I'm like, wow, a lot of interviews. Because basically talking to podcasters is like talking to strangers online. Most of my guests, like 90% of my guests, I've never spoken to them before. Like, I don't even know who they are. And so I meet them the first time. I'm like, oh, hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
And we have to like have a conversation.
I want to ask you a question about interviewing. Okay. So, we know our world, right? So I know that you know this and you'll relate to this. There's times when I have a question that I'm dying to ask. Ooh. Sometimes I ask it. Sometimes I'll change the whole conversation because I have to ask this question. But if I hold that question back and let the conversation guide us as opposed to my need, that always works out great. So how do you deal with that question that you're desperate to ask, but the conversation's going good, so you're like, what am I going to ask that question for? Like, are you able to put that question aside and let it go and just let the conversation go to a place you don't expect?
I'm not exactly sure I understand your question.
Let's say, so like inside of you, like, you have the next question you want to ask, right? And the conversation's moving along. And we end up in a different place. You could take us back to where you're like, I want to ask this question. Or you could let the conversation wander down the road that it's going to go, right? And so you have a question that you want to ask. And maybe it's not even the best question, but it's the question you feel inside. And you're like, oh man, I'm desperate to ask him about, has he ever killed anybody, right? And you're kind of saving that, waiting for the time. But the conversation's so good that you're always like, even though you're desperate to get it out and you really want to scratch that itch, you let it go because, the conversation is just this wonderful path. Do you feel that compulsion to ask a question? And then what do you do if you feel it? Like, do you ask it? How do you frame it? And then do you ever just let it go and let the conversation guide the conversation?
No, I understand your question.
Yeah.
For me, it depends on the guest, right? Because one thing I do on every episode, right, is I learned this the hard way where after a couple of interviews and I would realize that I wasn't managing time. I was probably an episode that was supposed to be 1 hour. I'd finish my conversation 15 minutes. Right? So what I do is the very first 5 minutes of my conversation, right? I'm like, what kind of person is this, right? Is it the kind of person that, they respond, but they give you short answers, or, once you ask them question, they don't hold back. They just open everything and they give you like everything, right? And that would influence how I ask the questions. If it's someone that doesn't hold back, right? When you're like, oh yeah, tell me about how did you get started doing your spy stuff, right? They're like, oh yeah, I had this stuff, and then they're like, and they're giving this stuff, right? And right, they're best person like that. And then some will tell you like, well, I saw the the form and I filled it, and that's how I entered the spy school. Well, that's a response, and then you have to ask the next question, and then you go to the next thing. Right? For those kind of persons, it's easy to just ask the next question. That's not really difficult, right? But then for the other kind of persons where you ask the questions and they're just running with it, for those kind of persons, you would have to like step back and realize where you want to take the conversation to, right? Okay, I know it sounds vague. I'll give an example, right? Let's say we're having a conversation and we're talking about what we're talking about. Where I'm like, okay, I want to know about the days in why you worked as a spy, right? That's the question that I'm burning to ask. I really want to ask that question. For me, it's not even about where the conversation. I can always adjust the question to follow up with where the conversation is going. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Well, as long as because for me, I hate to interrupt people. So so as long as the guest is someone I can easily chip the question in, I will just adjust it so that the question I ask will be the next possible thing, but they will be able the response they give would also answer my questions and then some. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. And I'm sure you use this tool too, but a lot of times my favorite question, I'm going to do it right now. Here's my favorite question. You ready?
Okay.
And I just shut up and I just don't say a word, or I'll say, go on.
You got me there.
Hey, quick break. Before we continue, I'd love for you to join the Wisdom Journey newsletter. Every week, I share exclusive insights, tools, and behind-the-scenes updates to help you stay ahead in your own journey of building an online business. It's simple, practical, and built to help you grow. Sign up today for free at the link in the description. Now, let's get back to the episode.
I was expecting something. I was like, my favorite question. I was like, okay,
but
hit me.
That's what I'm talking about, that tension. You're like, oh, should I be talking?
That's a good one.
I'm like, no, go ahead. And so they'll back. And if you say go on. No, like, oh, I can keep going? Well then. And then when you say go on, or when you let them go, they go, I'll keep going. And that silent question or that go on question, people just crack open. They crack open and they want to go crazy and really do this whole thing. They want to talk like crazy.
Hello?
Did you lose me?
Yeah. You just
let me swap my Wi-Fi over. Hold on one sec. Let me change connections. Hold on. That'll fix that. One sec. There it goes. All right, that's the better Wi-Fi. What I was saying was like once you say that go on or you leave the silent question, they just so often they just crack open and they're just like, well, then I'm going to give you everything. You want more? Here comes more. And then they just go for it. Yeah. And then when they stop, I've been talking for 5 minutes, you're like, go on. And then they're like, really? All right, let's go. And then they do it again. I mean, sometimes people will just give you everything, and you don't.
Yeah. And
then I just sit back, man. I sit back like this. I let them do all the work. I let them shine, because they know what to say. They're so great.
That's a tricky thing because sometimes, because I don't go to people's podcasts often. So when I go to people's podcasts, sometimes the host just kicks in me, and then I end up asking questions, and I put my hands on my jaw, and I'm like, okay. And then I quickly remind myself, wait. You're the guest. You're supposed to do the talking. And I'm like, that's true. So what's the question you're supposed to ask me?
Yeah. Okay. And then obviously there's people that have short answers or aren't they're not practiced, right? It's always our responsibility to deal with the guest. It's our job, right, to deal with this. What are your favorite kind of guests that are hard? Like I don't mind it if they're shy or whatever it is, or like if they're nervous. I don't mind those things. What kind of guests do you like that are challenging?
Okay. I can deal with any kind of guest. The only kind of guest that is kind of hard to deal with is the kind of guest that can talk for 30 minutes straight and not have any points for you to jump in. They can literally talk for 30 minutes that if you try to say something, it will be like you have to talk over them in order for you to they don't talk and take breaks. Like they just go 20 minutes and I'm like it's hard. Like, cause how do I like to be polite. So how do I I'm like, okay. And 30 minutes is still going. Now, of course, I love for them to talk, but sometimes you're like, okay, yeah, you mentioned you have 3 kids. What kind are they, like young kids or like adult? So like, so that it clarifies the story that they're telling, right? But then they're going on for 20 minutes, and in that 20 minutes, you had like 15 questions you want to ask. And you can't even interrupt, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Those are challenging for sure, right? And sometimes the answer is just to let them do their talk,
Yeah.
because that's what they're practiced at. We had a guy on our show who's a World War II guy. He's still alive, and he was in a horrific sinking of a ship. That he was on the ship, and they were out in the ocean for 5 days undiscovered. No one knew they were out there. And so a lot of them went straight down with the ship, and then another third died in the ocean because they just couldn't be out there for 5 days, and the sharks were killing them too.
Yeah.
It was bad. So he tells the same story every single time. There's no point in interrupting because you're going to get the same story. The story's amazing and he's professional at telling it, but he's not there to answer questions. And so you go, oh, I'm supposed to shut up and just let you do your job. Okay. And he's glad to do it. And he's like, this is how I tell the story every single time. And yeah, so some people, that's just what they like. It's not my favorite thing, but I can take it,
Yeah. And I guess our job is not to wish for this kind of guest. Our job is to ask ourselves, what kind of guest do I have on the podcast, and how can we create magic together? And sometimes it's going to involve you just shutting up and probably asking what's your name at the beginning, and then the last time say, oh yeah, thank you, that was an amazing story. And pretty much that's it. And then some other times you have to literally like walk with them, right? Like ask them every question along the way. Okay, yeah, tell me about this. Okay, so this, right? So the question is just do what it needs to be done in order to make them look good and spotlight your story.
Yeah. I mean, that's the essence of the conversation, right? Is to determine, when you're in charge of it, to determine when to talk, when not to talk, when to get more out of the guest, how to get them to cooperate. All these little things that, we think we're just talking, but I'm thinking about things all the time. You are hitting the ball back to me, and I'm like, oh man, I got to hit the ball back over to Wisdom, and I'm going to hit it back, and I'm going to hit a little harder sometimes, and maybe we get going really good. But I don't know, man. That's the joy of it for me is just exchanging these ideas. Just how many times does someone talk to you about like in-depth questioning, like we're doing now? And I'll think about this conversation tomorrow, and while I'm talking, I'm always practicing. I'm always like thinking about ways to approach things. Even though I've done this for a long time and I'm really good at it, I'm always tinkering with how I do things and looking for just new tools, Yeah.
I think for most persons, right? How do I explain this now? One thing I've noticed is that some guests, right, they respond to questions, right? And over time, you just notice that it's, as you mentioned, they've been doing this for a while, and they kind of have a script, right? So it goes like this, and so every time you try to answer, you ask a question, you just start noticing that wait, that's not you're not respond. That's not the question I asked, and then that's not the question I asked. What's going on? And it's just obvious that like is that script. So this happens. I talk about my intro. I say what happened to me. I say how I get back, and it's pretty much that's it. And so when you ask questions, it makes the response out of place.
Yeah. When I detect that someone is on their script and I want to change it, I've got a couple things I do. One is I'm the host. And so I'll be like, you know what? I've heard you give this talk 100 times. I want to ask you a different question. Let's do a different talk, And then the other thing I would say is before I even have that conversation, if the person's nervous, please, will you send me the questions you're going to ask? No, we're just going to have a conversation and you're prepared. You don't have to worry. Everything you know is why I want you on my show. Yeah, but what are you going to ask? And I'm like, that's my job. Leave it with me, right? Like earlier, leave that with me and don't worry. My job is to make you shine. I'm very good at my job. And so all of this, like, I know that you practice these things. That's the least interesting thing about you. Let's get you off your script. Let's get you going in a different direction and then have a conversation. And I know you've said when the spell wears off and you're like, well, that's it. That's an hour. And they're like, that was an hour, And They can't believe it. You're like, yeah, well, we went in, and you just put that spell on them, and they just get into a trance. I mean, I love that. I also love when the guest says, "That's a great question," right? Because that means I got some fertile ground, man.
I'm
I
like,
love
thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
I'm doing a
Yeah,
great
because
job. Yeah.
that's a compliment, and we got to recognize like that's a solid win for us. And so
Yeah.
all of those things go into that, getting them off of the page and getting them off the script, off the page, and getting to like I love to ask questions about when they figured something out, or like what, like I'll ask you right now, Wisdom, when you go to a party and someone says, "Hey man, what do you do?" What's your answer? What do you tell them that you do? What's your job?
Okay. Well, I tell them I talk to strangers.
Yeah.
That's like I have conversations with strangers online. Yeah, that's what I do. It makes it interesting.
But when you're out and about, like if you got invited to a party, right?
Okay.
And then you showed up and you're like, "Who are you?" "Oh, I'm Wisdom." "What do you do for a living?" That person you don't know, you may never see him again. They may be a potential business person, right?
Yeah.
So what do you say to them? You're just at a party drinking some eggnog or something. Who knows what you're doing? But yeah, they ask you, "What do you do?" So what do you say?
Yeah, what do I say? That's a tough one. I have to figure that part out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really,
But
like
okay, that's a very normal answer though, right? Like,
yeah.
so I'll have someone on my show who's an author and they're writing books, and I'll
Yeah.
say, "Well, what do you say?" And they'll say, "Well, I mean, I don't like to talk about it." And I'm like, "Why? You're living, aren't you living your dream?" And they're like, "Of
Exactly.
course, I
Yeah.
love writing books." And I'm like, "Then why don't you say you're an author?" And and I've had this answer in kind of different ways, same answer a lot of times, like, "I guess I'm just uncomfortable about it. I feel kind of bad." And then they start to examine themselves. And now look where we are. Look where we are in the conversation, Wisdom. Like, they're like, "Oh my God, I feel bad about publicly saying this." And then my wife will say, "Why don't you say you're an author?" And I don't know. I just, and so all of these kind of questions, they're so much better than whatever was on that page,
Yeah.
It's so much richer. And that person's evaluating, and look, it's the spy stuff. So they're looking up here, they're going, "I don't know why." That means they're thinking hard and they're examining and they're trying to find the next thing. And that's when you really just shut up, or maybe you nudge, but you just shut up and you let them go, maybe, when I was 5, and they'll come back around to you and they'll look at you and they'll have some clarity. And that's going to be gold that nobody else gets. And that's just advanced questioning, but anybody can do that.
At the beginning, when I started podcasting, one of the things I was like looking forward to, like I was like, oh, I need to take note of awkward silences. But now that I've been doing podcasting, I've realized that silences are actually my super strength. They're there to help me. They're there to empower me. And so when I ask a question and the guest is like, I would keep quiet and take out and just for 30 seconds, and the guest is like thinking. I don't ask anything because there's no need to always say something. As long as I make sure that they got the question, I just keep quiet. And sometimes they take 40 seconds, 50 seconds, and they think, no rush. I'm just there. Right? And now silence is no longer awkward per se like that to me. Versus when I was like, what do you do when they're not saying anything for like 50 seconds? That's awkward. No, it's not.
You mentioned time, and time is a great thing too. Just letting something sit. Like, I'll do it right now. We're talking, and then I'm just going to stop and think. There's good tension in there, like when I'm quiet, and it has to be resolved. And the audience is like leaning in, like, "Wait, what's going on?" He's really thinking, "Oh man, that's a deep." So even if it's like 10 seconds, it's going to cause the audience to move emotionally.
Yeah.
And that's good for you, because now you can talk to the audience and say, "Did you guys see that? He thought for 10 seconds right in front of us." And then it come back to the guest. When you do that, and the audience is hanging on your next word, what's going through your mind? And now, bam, you've opened up a whole new world. And that person's going to go on that ride with you all the time. They're going to want to tell you what they thought, because there's some brilliance in that,
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's about understanding people, like spy stuff. It's about understanding people, because you see some guests that they've been probably in a year, they've been to like 100 podcasts. And so that kind of guest, I know that asking them the same question again and again it's just going to be them delivering. And so I would have to actually sit down and say, find a way to like dig, because they've been to like over 100 podcasts. Chances are most of the questions, the first set of questions I think in my head, they've been asked those questions. But if someone who's been on a podcast for just the very first time, down situation, I'm thinking of how do I make them comfortable? They're not used to this kind of thing, right? That's like, you see, so it's about understanding what kind of person am I dealing with, right? Or is it someone that I can just, and then there's someone like, oh, I have to like say, okay, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Ease into it. And there's someone who's like, oh, I've done 500 episodes and, they've seen a lot and it's not the first time. Like, yeah.
That's real mastery, man. I don't know if you realize that, but that ability to see that and understand it and be the right host at the right time for the right person. This is the stuff that folks don't get. Like, it's a lot of people can do it, but you have to know that you're doing it. You have to know, like, this is what I'm going to be doing. This person's a little nervous. I'm going to spend time getting to make them relax. And back before everybody in the world had done a podcast or had owned one, there was like a rhythm that we would find. And right around minute 30, 35, like right about now, right? The guest would fully lock in and it would just race forward, right? And you'd be like, now he's going, right? And that's still a good rule, but a lot more people are a lot more practiced now than in the old days. But yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing all the tools at your disposal. And then you realize there's a different way to use that same tool. And so I've got this person that's nervous. Maybe I can apply pressure and say, I know you're nervous, but let's just go ahead and go. Let's throw caution to the wind. And now you're making a contract with them to trust you because you're going to be fine. I got you. Here's the first question. When your mom was beating you with the hanger when you were a little kid on chapter 8, what, and all of a sudden you just like jump on in, because that's the other way to, yeah. But you have all these tools. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I guess podcasting is, and I keep telling people like podcasting is one of the things. It's just like starting a business would help you, work on self-improvement, right? But same thing with starting a podcast because you're literally talking to strangers online and you're recording it with their permission, right? I'm like, I can't think of a scenario where I could actually go outside and talk to strangers and record it with their permission. That's kind of like weird. But with podcasting, you have their permission. They know that you're going to record them. And so you're still having a conversation with them. And then after the conversation, you can go back and say, okay, you listen to it. Okay, yeah, minutes 5, I'm supposed to like pause. I didn't pause enough. The guest wanted to say something, but I interrupted him. I didn't get that. So, okay, yeah. And then you go back and you review it and say, okay, yeah, I want to take this now. I'll try this thing in the next episode, right?
Yeah.
There's really nothing I can think of that allows you to do that.
Yeah. No, you're right. I can't think of anything either. It's, I mean, well, look, there's a lot of things that are like that, but also so many things are just applicable to regular life. I find that first off, if I'm in a big group socially and everybody's talking, I can now just sit back and let them all have because I get to talk as much as I want to. And so I don't have to be in the conversation. I can sit back and relax and let them have a convo and just sort of like just be my own self. I used to have to inject myself into conversations because I had this need to talk, but I don't have that anymore because I can talk and I certainly engage with conversations, but I can also enjoy sitting back and watching someone else talk and just kind of look at how they do it. And I love that. It's like a different way of enjoying a conversation is by just simply observing it.
Have you noticed this? I don't know if you've gotten this compliment where you had a conversation with someone and if we were to look at the transcript of the words that were spoken, you probably spoke 5% of the time. Sure. And then at the end of the conversation, they're like, wow, Pete, that was such a lovely conversation. I've never really had such a conversation in a long while. And I'm like, I didn't say anything. I barely talked. Yeah. We're like, what do you mean? What do you mean that was a great conversation? And I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, what did I say? Like, I didn't say anything. Like, I just talked 5% of the time. You did most of the talking. Why are you telling me that? What did I do? And I'm like shocked. I've been having such conversation again and again. I'm like, wow.
I think that's because you're good at listening. They feel heard. They feel safe. And they get to talk for once. Like so many people, even if they're on Podmatch, which everybody should use Podmatch. It's a wonderful, wonderful service. If you want to be a guest or a podcaster or both, it's fantastic. I'm not getting paid to say that. I'm just telling you, genuinely, it's fantastic.
It is.
But if you're just getting started on that and you haven't done 10 shows yet, and 10 is nothing, but you're, for the first time in your life, you're doing something professional on a microphone, looking into a camera, and it's your words. And of course, you're going to be keyed up like, man, that was awesome. I got to talk for an hour straight about all the stuff I'm smart about. And you were so wonderful. I had the best time talking at you. I had the best time talking at you, you know? And, but that's cool. You know, some of my favorite conversations, and on my show, I often will have two guests or a co-host. And like today I had a guy who's a writer, and he's written a book about boxing. And we had a very famous, very, very famous boxing historian on the show. And so I just kind of sat back in the boss man chair, and I let them talk. And I didn't care about I got questions in when I wanted to. And now I'll tell my friends when they haven't done this, I'm like, I want you to ask all the questions to your heart's content. Make yourself full, just do it all. Don't worry about me. I promise if I need to get a question in, I will get it in. And they're like, really? And I'm like, it's my show.
Yeah.
I know what to do. You don't have to worry about me. I want you to worry about you and fill your heart. And they're like, oh man. And I freed them. I've freed them to do exactly what they've been dying to do and talk to this amazing person. Another form of this that I do is I'll say, like, let's say you and I are talking and you'll say, oh man, you know what? I love this book. And the author is, you know, Dave Thompson. And man, oh man, Dave Thompson, his book is so good. I will go online. I will find Dave Thompson. I will book him on my show. And I'll say, hey, Wisdom, I got you booked on my show next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Dave Thompson is going to come talk to you about his book.
Wow.
And you're going to be like, what? No, is he talking to me? And I love it. I love blowing people's minds. I love putting them on my show and having them go, I cannot believe I'm talking. I'm like, well, that's what I get to experience all the time. I want you to experience. Come on. You know, and I know you got your own show. You're fine. But my friends that don't have that are the people that I care about. I'm like, come on, let's go. Like they say something and I'm like, let's get them. And my show's big enough that I can get almost anybody. I mean, there's really nobody I can't get. And so I'll get people like that all the time, and it blows people's minds. And what's better than that? Tell me, you want to monetize something. I don't care about that. I want to give that to people. I want to blow their minds so that they're like, I did this podcast with Pete the other day. And they're going to be so stoked to talk about that with someone else that they're going to be like, God damn, Pete's an awesome dude. And I don't need them to think I'm awesome, but it just leaves this wake of goodness from that one episode.
Yeah. I mean, when you become interested in people, they start seeing you as an interesting person.
Yeah. I get this compliment a lot. You must get something similar to that. When I show up, they'll be like, man, you know, Pete, I got to tell you, because now they feel like, you know, because we all get along so well. I love when you come around. I love when I get to see you. If you say, hey, let's go get lunch, I don't have time. I make time for you because I love hanging out with you. And so I've turned into this person that just, I don't know, man, because of my show, I was already a nice guy, charming and all that stuff. But now I've got like these new gears, and I'm not trying to do anything. It's just, I've been built into this different person who is enjoyable to be around. And people are like, I love your insight. I love, like, well, I'm just telling you things I've heard on my show, you know? And I don't bug them like, you got to watch the show. You can have the same, I don't say any of that stuff. I just like, here it is. And here's the other thing, Wisdom, is I can't buy a meal. These guys will all buy my dinner for me because they're like, that was the most amazing conversation I've had in months. And so I'm like, all right, buy me a meal. I love it. I love it. Again, that's what happens when you have a show.
I feel really privileged doing, you know, what doing this podcast. I get to meet amazing people from all over the world in the name of a podcast. Yeah. And like, I do a podcast. I love to interview you. And like, yeah, sure, let's do that. And I'm like, wow, really?
Do you think you'll be able to travel and go places and do your podcast in other places? Yeah,
of course. Like that's like in like, right? You know, once I get the financial logistics in place, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, it's great. When you want to build your remote kit, let me know. I'm pretty good at that, and it doesn't take much.
Wow. When you say it doesn't take much.
Well, I mean, like you need, the way I do it, you need 2 cameras. I got a switcher board. I'll show you my board. Here's my board right here.
You're talking about the kit. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're not even talking about the traveling stuff. Oh, I get it now. I thought you were talking about
so that. Well, I mean, you think about this. If you, like, let's say whatever country you go to or whatever city you go to in your country or whatever, right? you can just go and see someone like, think about this. If someone came from, I'm going to pick a place far from you. If someone came to you from France and they said, I've come all this way, would you be on my show? And they're in your hometown. Yes. Yeah, you came here from France. Yeah, I'll talk to you. And so it gets so powerful when you just, and anybody can be interesting in this. This. Anybody can be interesting. And now you sit down with this person, you have a conversation, and they're just like, how in the world did this happen to me? How did I end up on this show? This is amazing. And this probably seems ridiculous to people who don't have a podcast. But it's true. If you go somewhere and you invite them on, here's the thing that people don't understand. Like if you're going to go to conferences, like business conferences, high end, where you pay a bunch of money to go, whoever the most expensive person there is that's talking, they're there to talk. You can go up to that person and say, world famous speaker, will you come on my show while I'm here? And they'll be like, yeah, I'm here to work and talk. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've got the preeminent person that got paid $25,000 to talk, and now they're on your show.
Yeah.
Just because you're there. And that, man, that is, I don't want to say it's easy, but that's easy. That's easy.
Yeah. One of the things I've noticed is that a lot of the times, what I do is I don't think about celebrities. Instead, I think about people that have amazing story, people that have amazing experience. Yeah, pretty much that's it. And if you happen to be a celebrity, awesome. But I feel like most times people struggle to get guests because they're reaching out to someone that probably 10,000 people they're reaching out to. And I'm like, okay, what exactly makes this person unique? Okay, they did spy stuff, but they're not a celebrity. Okay, there's so many people that did spy stuff, probably in the United States, and so many persons like reach out to. No, like I'll probably be the only one that's reaching out to them in probably the last 2 years or last 3 years. And it's easy for them to say yes. But when I meet to maybe one of all the celebrity spy guys that worked for the CIA, right? That is going to like 2-3 podcasts, 1,000 people message him all the time. I'm like, probably no, right? And so that's what I think of when I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, is there a way I can get someone that has the same story, but it's not necessarily a celebrity? And that makes it easy for them to find guests.
Yeah. The other thing is I would just ask that person anyhow, don't ever, I say, don't borrow the no. So let him tell you no, let him ignore you. Who cares? Right. And so you go for the person that you want, but you're right. The other person next to him and the person next to that person who are all the same level, you'll get someone. You will for sure. But I just ask them. And then I have a very specific way of asking that works for me. Everybody has to find this thing. But I put a lot of respect. So what I realize is when people get asked a lot of things, they're asking for something and it's a very direct way. I'll say, I see what you're doing. I think it's amazing. I'd love to share that on my show, something like that. And then the next line is my bona fides. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've had all these people on my show, gold medalists, all that stuff, whatever's relevant to them. Right? I've had all these people on my show. I've done 2,000 of these things. So that proves that I'm okay to talk to. And then at the next line, I'm like, if you do me the honor of being my guest, I need about an hour. And I'll be super flexible with my schedule. And then that's it. And then the last thing is, if nothing else, just from all of us out here in this big world, thank you. Thank you for what you do. And then I'm out. And that's it. And you know what? They always say yes. I mean, they just say yes, because that's a great way to ask somebody. And it's just those 4 elements, pay them a compliment, tell them who you are, tell them what you need, and just say, it doesn't even matter if you say yes or not. Just thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all the work that you do. Like you, Wisdom. I thanked you before when I got on. I'm like, man, thank you. Thank you for letting me be late. Thank you for being nice about it. Thank you for having me on your show. Thank all of you all for watching. Oh my God, that's incredible, right? And when you do that, I'm just planting all this goodness all around. And I'm being genuine. It's the kind of person I am, especially now. I want people to know that I appreciate them. And so when you're asking, just find don't copy my method, but use your own, or copy it, whatever, but find your way and just say, I'm going to reach out to these people, and you'll be amazed, man. They'll say yes.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wow, this has been a lovely conversation. This is like the most off the script conversation I've had in a long time.
Yes. Love it. Love it.
I was like,
it was good though, right? We had a good show. We had a good conversation.
I learned a lot. Like I learned a lot of things I'm going to start implementing on my own podcast. You see how time flies when you're having a good conversation.
Yeah.
So it's almost
oh my God. Yeah, we are done. Yeah.
Where can listeners, learn more about the work you do and also connect with you?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for that. Pete A. Turner, I'm on X, I'm on YouTube. You can even email me, pete@breakitdownshow.com. I'm pretty good chance I'll respond to you. So yeah, just whatever it is. If I can, I like to be helpful to people. I don't need to make money every single time I help someone either. So if I can help you for free, I'm gonna help you for free. And if I can't help you, I'm like, I don't know anything about that. But there's a good chance I know someone that does. So yeah, pete@breakitdownshow.com or just Pete A. Turner on social media. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Pete. I will put the links in the description, in the show notes, so people can click and go direct to the site. It's been an honor chatting with you.
Thanks for tuning in to Wisdom Journey. I hope today's episode gave you practical steps and fresh ideas to keep moving forward. If you found value, be sure to subscribe and share this podcast with a fellow creator or entrepreneur who'd love to learn too. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and the link in the description for more resources, experiments, and lessons straight to your inbox. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep walking your own wisdom journey. Yeah.